Welcome on into the Puck Bros podcast. My name is Brett, and as with me always, that's my brother Nolan. We're here to give you the updates about the Stanley Cup, some other stuff that's been going around the league, some free agents confirmed. The Winter Olympics are coming up next year, and they announced one quarter of the rosters, I think, might be the best fraction. But hey, there's a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. Here we go. But yes, the Stanley Cup final rolls on tomorrow. I'm just going to try to say this because we're going to be posting this in the morning. Tonight is the chance the Panthers have to start a dynasty. Winning back-to-back championships is right within their grasp. Game 6, 8 o'clock p.m. They're up 3-2. They just won 5-2 in Edmonton on Saturday. It is a big night for the Panthers fans and the team, obviously, but
yeah, because this could be another win at home, because last year they won at home.
They did, but I also am just thinking about how for more than 20 years, this team never won a playoff series, only made the playoffs twice in like an 18-year span. Maybe even more than that, 19-year span, I think. And we are literally one win away from basically being a miniature dynasty here. It is
a little
insane.
Mini dynasty.
Because that's what the Lightning were. They were a mini dynasty, I would say. 3 straight cups, 2 cup championships.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mini dynasty. The Panthers obviously still could continue that if they continue to win, which would be insane. We're like almost on the Islanders territory here from the early 80s. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Can you ever have imagined the Panthers would be in a situation like this?
Yeah, I thought it was going to happen all the time.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
I think nobody really expected the Tkachuk trade to do what it did, because that's definitely the changing point of the Panthers franchise.
It was a complete shift because Huberdeau, we mentioned this before the episodes, but it's still crazy to talk about. Huberdeau was coming off finishing 3rd place in Hart Trophy votes. He had the greatest scoring season in Panthers history. No reason to get rid of him. And Bill Zito, he doesn't have attachment to Huberdeau. He didn't draft him. So he knows what this team needed to win, and it was an agitator, power forward, not a playmaker who doesn't play much defense. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk isn't like the best defender, but he's definitely more physical. But you're right. He's mean. Big culture shift for the Panthers, and ever since they've done that, they've done nothing but win, it's still crazy to comprehend.
Yeah, just a complete 180, and then I would say for Edmonton, they used to be similar.
That's true.
Kind of territory, because 3 years in a row they won the first overall pick. Only player remains from those picks is Nugent Hopkins.
Yeah, because it was Taylor Hall, Nugent Hopkins, Yakupov. I think that's the order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was the order. And then Connor McDavid, 2015. They were like a consistent playoff team, but could never. I think they made the Western Conference Finals once and then got smoked.
That was by the Sharks? What? Maybe not.
I don't know if it was the Sharks, but it was some team. And then now they're back-to-back Stanley Cup making the team. So I think both of these teams have had their eras of sucking for so long, and now they're the Cup. 2 years in a row they've made the Cup. So,
and basically the Oilers have had a similar story trend since the Panthers came into the league, because if you just pretended that the Oilers didn't exist before 1993, obviously they did and they were amazing, but since 1993, them and the Panthers have had almost the same kind of
there was that success. Random cup run they had.
That's what I'm talking about.
They had a random cup run.
Right, because the Panthers had their cup run in 1996. Oilers had their cup run, what was it?
2006 Hurricanes.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. They each had similar success. They had one cup run, but they couldn't complete it, and then they were just horrible in the 2010s, getting all the top picks, and now they're at the top of the league. So yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
it's just that the Panthers have ultimately been able to come up on top. We'll see if they can do it once again. Obviously, that's what I'm
That's
rooting
the
for.
thing. I mean, the Panthers were up 3-0 in a game, and then something happened.
I can't imagine the Panthers let that slip away again, but I don't know. I'm not gonna. I'm not
You
one
know
to
what's funny?
guarantee things.
It was so funny because I remember after we talked about that game, and it's like, okay, I'm predicting a 1-0 game. No, Stuart Skinner allows 3 goals and gets pulled. And then was talking about teams really don't let up too many comebacks in the league, and then Edmonton starts right back in the second. So I was wrong on like both accounts.
Edmonton's comeback was also historic in the NHL history. They were the first team to ever come back from a 3 goal deficit in the Stanley Cup final on the road. So,
That's crazy.
yeah. Oh,
At
man.
least you won Game 5 to at least give you some
Had to.
confidence.
Had to. Well, like, so in game five, we're up 4-1. Edmonton pulls the goalie with over 3 minutes left, and
Hmm.
Corey Perry scores to make it 4-2. I'm like, please, please don't do this. I can't. Oh my gosh! And I was watching. I had turned on the game at that point, and
Hmm.
I was like, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it because I want to see them win. And eat two loose terrain, and thank you. He buried it from the own zone, and then like I just like my heart was doing that, boom, 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 and then
Oh,
loose
oh.
terrain's goal went in. I'm like,
Phew. Dude, that game had some crazy highlight goals from a certain player,
yes,
a certain little player,
the little
Brad
ball of
Marchand.
hate. Yes, Brad Marchand. If the NHL was like the NBA or Major League Baseball, or even the NFL, actually, apparently the NHL ones it's not. If it was a Stanley Cup Finals MVP, it'd be Marchand easily.
It's insane
It's
how good
easy.
he is
six
throughout
goals,
the series.
6 goals in the Stanley Cup Finals, uh, and he became the first player in NHL history to score 5 or more goals in the Stanley Cup Finals with two different franchises. So
That's
that's pretty
crazy.
cool because he did it back in 2011 with the Bruins, duh, and then
Hmm.
this year with Florida. So he's the only player to have ever done that with two different teams. And he's actually
Yeah,
the first player since Mario Lemieux in 1991-92 to do that in two different finals, regardless if it's the same team or not. So it's been done
jeez,
before, but not since Mario Lemieux and Brad
Mario
Marchand are the
Lemieux.
most recent.
That's nuts. That one goal where he just like did like the
The windmill
by
deke,
yeah. He
Jake
just and
Wallman.
then there's like 3 defensemen like all on the floor by the end of the goal.
Man, I there was some hilarious post because Jake Wallman he was laughing at the face of Thomas Nosek after he took that delay of the game penalty in game
Hmm.
1, and now he there was a picture of like how it was going and how it is now, and he's like in the net after that goal. Oh man,
Poor guy.
what are your predictions for tonight's game? Well, we don't have to talk about the cup final forever, so we'll kind of try to close it here. What's your predictions for
Yeah.
tonight's game?
Well, I said Edmonton in 6, so it's impossible for that to happen now. So I did say 6 game series, but I think it will be more funny if it is a game 7. Plus, we might actually get to do live reaction if I'm not busy. Talk about the most stressful stream of all
Oh
time.
my gosh, I don't know about that. So what? But what's your score? So you're saying Edmonton, I think. But what's your
I think
score?
I'll say Edmonton as my helpful jinx. Um, I'm gonna say it's been like high scoring a lot, so let's go with 4-3.
In overtime? I don't know.
In overtime.
In overtime. I have this feeling it'll be overtime as well, but I'll have the Panthers coming out in 3-2.
Who scores the goal?
It's going to be Benny. Sam Bennett.
Benny. Okay. Man, if that game goes into overtime, I'll probably call you regardless, and then we'll see.
The sweat will be pouring. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think Edmonton wins this in a blowout. I think they can win in a tight game. But Florida, I can see them pulling off what they did to Toronto, where they just wipe the floor with them. But we'll see.
See, I thought you were about to say like it's going to be like Toronto, so where game 6 you
got
lose,
shut
do
out,
nothing, and then the next game you'll blow them out.
That would be hilarious, but I think I really want to see them win at home. Confirmation today from Roberto Luongo. He will be the person banging the drum before the game, and he banged the drum for Game 7 last year. So I try not to get into all that stuff, all the jinxes and all that, because some people were like, Taylor Swift might be there, and they lost when Taylor Swift was there, and then they're like, oh, Taylor Swift's not going to be there. I'm like, I think we get too much into our head about that stuff.
You know what? I'll be happy if Taylor Swift isn't there. That was just covered up my timeline.
Yeah, it covered up everything. It was insane. You had people who were complaining about it, people who enjoyed it, and people who were
I just don't care.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
just turn on the game.
I'm not a T-Swizzle fan, but I'm also not a T-Swizzle hater.
But
I'm a T-Swizzle who cares.
I'm a T-Swizzle neutral.
Well, that's because your wife loves it.
Oh, I mean, I don't think I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, but it doesn't matter.
It's okay.
So tonight could be the night. Panthers are crowned back-to-back champions. I'll be a very happy dude. Either way, next podcast we will be talking about who is the winner, because Game 7 would be Friday. So
yes.
But my cat just fell off the table of her own accord. She'll be all right.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
let's move on to some non-Panthers talk. The NHL has agreed to meet with a group from South Forsyth County to talk about a expansion to Atlanta. It would be their third team in NHL history. Both times we had
time's the charm.
The Atlanta Flames moved to Calgary to become the Calgary Flames. Then you had the Atlanta Thrashers expand in 2000, and they moved to Winnipeg in 2011. And here we go again.
Now we'll have the Atlanta. I'm hoping they're the Atlanta Thrashers again, because that's such a cool name.
Given, I don't know if you've seen, and I don't have it ready to be pulled up, unfortunately, but the logo for the NHL to Atlanta, like the group that's trying to like push this, they are using the Thrashers colors in their like logo. Yeah. So if they're not,
why would you change it?
Right.
Because that's what Atlanta fans remember, probably, if the few that still remain.
Yeah, they're out there, and so even if they're not the Thrashers, it looks like they're going to stick with that kind of like baby blue, orange, reddish color scheme.
It was unique.
Yes. Yeah. No. I mean, they went all out on their styles. I mean, you had the hat, the full sleeve down here, but then not on the other one with the Atlanta. They weren't afraid to be different, and you got to appreciate that with so many teams that just like have had the same jersey since the early 1900s. So
yeah, Toronto, looking at you. Blue.
I was thinking Detroit. Detroit has literally been the same. Montreal has been the same. All the original 6. Rangers have basically never changed. Every time they do, the fans riot.
Montreal will be the only team I'm okay with, because their whole scheme is cool still.
Right. Well, it's French inspired, right? That's the whole thing. But yeah, what's your first thoughts on the NHL not only going back to Atlanta, but potentially being a 33-team league?
It's It's so weird that hockey is like the league that will have 33 teams. Wow, I think NFL has
They have
30.
32.
Yeah, 32. NBA I think only has 30.
30. MLB has 30.
MLB has 30. Well, that makes sense. MLB's ugh. There's so many bad teams. They don't
Because
need
there's no
another one.
salary cap. That's why.
They need one because the Miami Marlins are just cheating.
Brief
Not to
here.
get not to get sidetracked,
Well,
but
we can briefly sidetrack that because, um, just like the NHL has their collective bargaining agreement expiring soon, MLB also is in a similar situation, and so they are going to be talking about introducing a salary cap, and they project that it might lock out all of next season because it is going to be tough for owners to agree to that. So
yeah,
we'll see. Hopefully, the NHL, according to Gary Bettman, CBA talks with the Player Association program, or Player Association committee. I don't know, but basically, the Gary Bettman and the players group talks have been going good. Should no be stoppages, which would be great for the NHL because they suffered so much from stoppages in the past.
yeah, we don't want because we had a lockout in the 2000s. We had a half lockout in the mid
2012.
2010s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I don't want to lock out in 2025.
Right.
Come on.
But anyways, yeah, I think
Yep.
33 teams is too many, way too many. Here, well, Nolan, what I was saying is that 33 teams seems like way too many, and they're talking about potentially even going to 34, which
Yeah.
is it seems so dumb. Like the NBA is really the league that should be expanding to this many teams, but the NHL is just like we want more teams. Soon we'll be a 48 team league. I don't even know. Like it's just like what
At that rate, they're gonna have to like do what soccer does.
where it's that where yeah, it's a promotion relegation. Anytime
Piss
I've
me off.
anytime I've brought that up, hockey fans get pissed. They're like, "No, we will never
I
do that."
I don't want it. If I have to support a team to be in the second league, then I just give up.
Well, I mean, in England, I mean
I don't want
they're
them to
behind
get
their
promoted.
teams no matter what, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Listen, I'm too dumb. Two leagues, that's too hard to understand.
But would you be? Yeah, I'm trying to make sure we're talking about Atlanta here. Do you think this is finally the time Atlanta sticks around, or do you think we see another of them move back up to Canada? Will this be the next
I
Quebec team?
I remember watching a video about the Thrashers, and their last owner group was like a disaster.
Hmm.
Like it was a bunch of idiots like who could not agree with each other. It was like a corporation that pretty much took them, I think, if I remember correctly. And it was like all these different people. It wasn't like a you know how like there's collect like just pretty much like one owner defined
Okay.
usually
Yeah.
like a head honcho. The Atlanta like never had that.
Yeah. With committees, you never can get anything done. So,
Hmm.
um,
So I think as long as they get a good ownership group, they'll be fine. That's the problem with Atlanta and the fact that they just sucked for the majority of like their franchise because they were so bad at drafting. If you go back through the Atlanta Thrashers drafting is some of the worst drafting you will see.
it's just Kovalchuk and then bunch of garbage.
Yeah, like Zach Bogosian, a second overall pick. We could look at who's the meme guy who missed the empty net? Pavel.
Oh,
Oh
Patrick
man,
Stefan.
yeah, Patrick Stefan. They so it's just they're just one of the they were just one of the worst drafting franchises in there with a really bad ownership group. So that's kind of and I know Gary Bettman didn't even want to move them to Winnipeg. He was like super pissed off I think when he had to. So yeah, I think they definitely want a team in Atlanta. Atlanta is like a very sports city.
Yeah.
Like you got the Braves, you got the Hawks, you got the
Falcons.
you got a football team, you got a soccer team. I'm pretty sure.
I think they have a name. I wanted to
Hmm.
say Atlanta FC, but that's not it. They have a
Yeah,
name.
Yeah, they have a WNBA team. I mean, they got all the teams. So a hockey team would make sense.
Yeah, I think you're right. If they get the right, this is clearly a place where hockey can work.
Hmm.
They just need the right owner and they need the right GM as well.
Yeah, they
Um,
need to build a team.
right. One thing I'll be interested to see. So Seattle, when Seattle was expanded, Vegas did not have to give them a player. So yes, Nolan is supporting the Seattle Kraken on today's
It was a
podcast.
cheap hat on Fanatics. That's why I got it.
It's one of the best logos in the NHL right now, so
That's pretty
no issue
cool.
with it. But it'll be interesting to see if Seattle or Vegas will have to surrender a player in a potential expansion draft. I think Vegas
I would.
definitely. They might not. They might let Seattle be
Maybe they
exempt.
would let Seattle not have to do it
Yeah.
because Seattle hasn't. It's been like 3 seasons.
I
I think
wish I
so.
could
I think
just
they've been
tell you
around for
right
three.
off the bat, but it's hard.
Because they had their first season, then they made the playoffs, and then there's this season.
It's not been a long time. Their first season was 2021-2022. So, can we do math real
2022.
quick? 2021-22, 2022, 2023, 23, 2024. So four. It's been 4 seasons so
Oh
far.
wow, they've been 4 seasons. Okay,
That
that's
was
fair.
embarrassingly slow math. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I use my fingers at work sometimes.
But yeah, so Atlanta is supposed to speak this group. They're called the Kraus Group. Um,
House.
Kraus. They will be speaking to Gary Bettman in the coming weeks. That hasn't happened yet, so but once it does, they will be told whether they will be granted an expansion. They'll also be finding out if they have the money to do it because the expansion fee is typically several $1 million, maybe even billion. Actually, I'm not sure where it's at right now. And then they'll be allowed to start building the team, making sure a stadium's ready, doing all those things. We don't know if that's happening yet, but we do know that a meeting will take place. So that's as far as we are at with the process right now.
All right.
But yeah, let's move on to teams that are playing, are active. Chris Kreider, we talked about this last week, but it wasn't official yet. If only we recorded just
Yeah,
24 hours later.
this could be a little quickie since we already kind of got it.
Yeah, Chris Kreider was officially traded to the Anaheim Ducks. No cap retained. He was traded for the players that were mentioned. Oh man, I had it up. Give me 1 second. I will pull up that information here. He was traded for Kerry Terrence and a third round pick, and Anaheim also got a fourth round pick from New York. Overall, it's clearly a cap dump trade.
Hmm.
Um, the Rangers are trying to do this kind of retool, rebuild because they're in this weird position where they seem like a playoff team, but they missed the playoffs. And speaking of Chris Kreider, I did want to mention this because I mentioned it last episode, and I want to make sure it was accurate. But yes, he finishes his time on the Rangers as their third greatest goal scorer of all time with 326 goals scored. And that is one
Rangers
of
are our original 16, by the way.
original 16. They've been around since the 1920s, and Chris Kreider is third all time for their franchise. So, pretty big deal to trade him away.
Hmm.
He never was named captain. Felt like he might be an option for that, and just didn't happen. And now he's gone. He's joined the old Rangers captain Jacob Trouba in Anaheim, where like we talked about Anaheim quite a bit. They're a confusing team with the mix of veterans and young players. So
Yeah, they're just it just seems like an amalgamation of cap dumps and guys who they signed to these contracts because they had to hit to the cap floor because they were barely there, and yeah, it's very odd.
they
It's a
should
very
be
odd team.
they should be better than Arizona because Arizona was kind of famous for just taking on bad contracts. But the problem is
Hmm.
they were taking on bad contracts for guys whose careers were over. At least Chris
Well,
Kreider will at least
they were
still be
taking
able to.
contracts of people who won't play with the team.
Right, right.
They had Pavel Datsuk,
And Shea Weber still getting paid by the
Shea
Utah
Weber.
franchise, by the way. Sure,
Yeah,
they appreciate
he's
that.
been around the league. He's been around the league for a bit. I thought
His
his contract's been traded so many times. Like, I gotta forget where he's at. Even
You're right.
you said
Actually, I
he's
think
on
they did
Utah.
trade him.
I don't
Maybe
think he's on
you're right.
Utah.
I think he is.
I don't even know where he is now.
Where is Shea Weber's contract? Let's figure this out. The Blackhawks.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Ew. I'm glad I'll never see him in a jersey.
No, he's never gonna wear Blackhawks uniform. He's already in the Hall of Fame, so I mean,
That's what's so crazy. He never won a Norris, but he's a Hall of Famer.
is that right? Hold on, I might have just lied, which would be really embarrassing.
He might have.
No, okay. Shea Weber was inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2024. I knew that. Yes, so he's still getting paid by an NHL team, but yet he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
How good he is.
His
Thank you,
contract will go down.
Philadelphia.
His contract will go down in history.
Philadelphia Flyers.
Is there anything more you
Franchise.
want? Is there anything more you wanted to talk about regarding the Kreider trade?
I think we talked a good bit last podcast, so I think we're good.
Yeah. A guy who will not be traded, but will be changing teams, is Mitch Marner. It was already pretty much this known that he probably wasn't going to return to the Maple Leafs, but there still was like some not so sure, like maybe he'll return, but it's not likely. Well, now it is 100% sure he is not going to be returning to the Toronto Maple Leafs. He has said that he is going to be testing free agency, and this like really confirmed it. He normally hosts a like benefit sort of thing. It's something children's hospital related, and he like canceled that visit because it was like in June or July. He said their group will still like give them money, but like he canceled an event so in Toronto. So pretty clear he is not going
Crazy
to be returning to Toronto. I mean, this is something we already knew, but what do you think now that it's like for sure that he's leaving?
I think it'll be great to see him in a Nashville Predators jersey where he will get a lot of points and will never make the playoffs.
I think that would be
I
fun.
I have been it's been hinted that he could come to Nashville, but I'm really hoping he goes to Utah or somehow Carolina decides to get him, even though he said no.
I think Nashville would be too afraid to sign Mitch Marner because they had that incredible offseason last year and it worked out so bad. So they're probably going to be
Yeah,
staying.
we were the off-season champions. Let's be the off-season champions again.
So they probably want to stay as far away as they can from big free agent signings, figure something else out because that did not work. So him going to Nashville would be cool, but I don't know. Just given what happened, I don't know if it's the best.
We don't
idea.
need a winger. We need a center bad. He's not a center.
No, pure winger for sure. He's going to give you great two-way play while also putting up a ton of points. He just had his first.
Also, one good thing is like he's a really good penalty killer. Surprisingly,
Right. He finished. He didn't win the Selke, but he finished top 3 in Selke votes at least 1 year in his career. Not that long ago. Not this year, but not that long ago, he was a top 3 Selke candidate. Just had his first 100-point season. He's had 2 90-point seasons. He was actually on pace for a 100-point season in 2023-24, but it was cut short by injuries. Even though he's known for choking in the playoffs, he's like a point per game in the playoffs. So I think it's just
it's his goals. That's what people are like. And he does like stupid things. Like he has 2 moments where he does like spinorama and turns the puck over and they score.
I remember one of those.
Yeah, and or like a really bad delay of game, just like he could use like a Jack Eichel thing because you know how like Jack Eichel in Buffalo for a while, like everyone was hating him, thinking he was bad, and then he goes to Vegas, wins a cup, and bam, now he's like
legend,
talked about really good. So for Marner, he might just need that. He just might need a different change of scenery because that could just do it for you. And not even with like the media stuff, just like a change of scenery from any team can help you win a cup. Like Sam Bennett for Florida,
Yeah.
that really helped him.
And
And
speaking of Florida, it has been heavily rumored that the Panthers are, or that Marner is interested in the Panthers. I don't know if the Panthers are interested in Marner, but Marner is interested in signing with the Panthers. And if we were to lose Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, Aaron Ekblad, all three of them, we'd have the space to sign Marner. Now he would have to take 10 mil. That's the cutoff if you're on the Panthers. You're not making more than Barkov. I don't care how many points you scored last year. It's
yeah,
it's Barkov. So I can see the Panthers giving Marner a $10 million contract. If like I said, those three things happen. We don't have Bennett. We don't have Brad Marchand. We don't have Aaron
Ekblad.
Ekblad. Says then your first line is Carter Verhaeghe, Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, and your second line is Luosterainen, Lundell, Marner. So that would be pretty insane top six. And I think we'd still do well to win. I think Marner in the right place with the right coach, he could be well and become. I think you were kind of saying this in the right system. He could be considered great in the playoffs, just like Jack Eichel eventually was like, oh yeah, he's awesome. I mean, he was one of the best players for Vegas. He didn't win the Conn Smythe, but I mean, he was right there in the votes. So
Yeah, I think it really. I think if Florida loses the cup, I could see that happening.
right, it'd be
Like
even
making some
more.
big changes and a
Yeah,
big splash move, and then, but if they win the cup, I think they're gonna try to get everyone back.
yeah.
Do like
Supposedly,
the Chicago Blackhawks thing,
oh yeah.
bring back all the boys.
Um,
Anyway,
some talks have been revealed. Um, Here, I'll start the sentence over so you can hear what I say.
okay,
Some
sorry.
no, you're good. Some talks have already been revealed. Obviously, Bill Zito's not talking directly to the players during the Cup final, but he's still talking to the agents. He doesn't have a ton of time to re-sign these guys, so he still needs to get in the work. So, reportedly, the Panthers have been offering Bennett the same thing Carter Verhaeghe is going to be making next season, which is a $7 million average for 8 years. And Bennett's camp is like, we're gonna need more than 7 million. And I don't know how much further Zito's willing to go. I feel like eight's got to be where you max out because this
Yeah,
is still a guy who's probably going to be a 40-point player in the regular season. I know he got 50 last year. That could be his career high. And hey, if you make the playoffs, you can know that playoff Sam Bennett's going to show up. But for a 40-point guy, 8 million seems like too much.
yeah. I mean, that is the question. If like if he's willing, like if they could like get him for like 7.5 or 8,
Yeah.
like you said, that's really good for what Sam Bennett brings in a playoff atmosphere. Because that's where he does his best work is pissing off the other team and scoring.
Yeah.
And who knows, like he could like have random breakout good seasons. Like Brandon Montour, remember him? Just
Yeah.
randomly good and gets a giant contract from Seattle because of that.
Yep.
And then so for him, I think Florida's definitely a best fit for him personally. I feel like if he leaves, I don't think his career's gonna get much. He's not gonna be like
No.
competing with the cup
It'll be just
as
chasing the bag.
it would be just chase. It'd be like a baseball player signing with the Rockies.
I was
So
really hoping you were gonna say the Mets there and take a shot at Juan Soto, but it's all right.
was I'm thinking of like a bad team. The Mets are actually a good team.
I guess
Recently, they have been.
they were right there from almost making the World Series, which would have been a
Yeah,
Yankees Mets World Series. That would have been fun. But
that would have been fun. But I think for him, I think if he wants to keep competing for cups, Florida would be the best option. I think 7.5 would be a good fair deal for a player what he brings. And then if he hits free agency, someone's going to overpay him and
yeah,
they're going to regret that contract. Hopefully not. Hope maybe he'll succeed. But, free agency is the place where you throw money, and then most of the time it blows up in your face.
Yeah, and we were just talking about that with Nashville. With they
Hmm.
signed Stammer, they signed Marchessault, they signed Brady Shea, and it just didn't work out. And hey, maybe next year those three players they go off like
Maybe,
crazy. Uh,
maybe next year, we'll win it. We'll win. We'll make it. We'll make it to the Stanley Cup.
this is so random. I mean, like with the Panthers, they were remember with the first year, with after the Matthew Tkachuk trade, we were not good. We were like barely hanging on in the playoff race. We weren't like winning the division or President's Trophy. Um, and then we squeak in because the Chicago Blackhawks beat the Penguins and they weren't supposed to. And that was the only reason the Panthers made the playoffs at all is because of the Chicago Blackhawks beating the Penguins. So
Yep.
all it takes is just a little bit of magic, I guess, and you never know what can happen.
Look at that. I feel the magic.
It's coming, right? But yeah, Mitch Marner in Florida. I think what you said is basically right. If Florida loses the cup, maybe they do a change. If they win the cup, they probably keep it the same, and Marner's going to have to look elsewhere. I've also seen Vegas be a heavily favored destination from what's rumored. What Marner wants, obviously, it's a rumor. Don't know for sure. But Freya, I don't know. She's trying to eat something out of a backpack, and I have no idea what's in there. But Vegas, another tax-free state, so people love to pick up on that. And or Nevada, I guess I should say. And they're a team that's clearly, even though they haven't made that a deep run since winning the cup, they're a team that if they had a Mitch Marner on it, with already you have Jack Eichel, all these really good players, a strong defense, goaltending that seems to always work out somehow. It's weird, but Vegas would be an interesting place for Marner. It'd be kind of annoying, um, but it,
Yeah.
it does seem like that would fit for someone like Marner, who's just wants to go to a team, not necessarily to be the leader, but to add to an already stacked team.
Yeah. It's like I don't see him going to like Utah,
Right.
possibly. Because if he goes to Utah, he's the
He's the
headliner.
guy.
Yeah. So that could be tough. And maybe he could do that. Maybe he wants to do that, but you never know.
Yeah, Utah's been like we talked about a lot. Utah's been talked a lot just because they have the cap space for it. They're new, they're exciting. They'll be the Utah Mammoth for the first time this year. Clayton Keller's a good star there, but I mean, this guy's not going to be winning Hart trophies. I like Keller, but he's not. Marner could potentially be like top player in the NHL, but we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. All right, we got to speed up. It's almost an hour.
Really?
Yeah, we're at 10:48, I think.
I've got 38 minutes, my friend.
Okay, okay. We started a little late.
um, but another thing, and not so much regards to NHL free agency, but this regards the eligible. Can you say it, Nolan? Help me out. No, he went away. Can you help
You just eligibility.
eligibility. This affects the eligibility of junior players, players who are not yet been drafted or they're still young. It was previously a rule that if you signed any sort of CHL contract that's with the QMJHL, the WHL, and the OHL, if you signed any contract in those three leagues, you could not play in the NCAA. You were not allowed to. But this past season, the NCAA changed their rules. They said if you had played for a CHL team, you can still commit to the NCAA. It's a brand new rule, and we finally
Really?
saw somebody take advantage of it. His name is Jackson Smith. Um,
Okay.
he is going to be a top 15 draft pick this year. He's ranked as high as number 6, and the lowest he's ranked is number 15. So this is going to be a top draft pick. He's a defender. He just put up 54 points in 68 games with the Tri-City Americans in the WHL. In the World Junior Championship, he scored 4 goals in 7 games. And again, he's a defenseman, and he is committed to Penn State University for next season. Something that could never have happened before. He was able to kind of develop his game in the juniors in Canada, and now that he's a little bit older, wants some stronger competition, he doesn't have to stay in the CHL, because before players would just be stuck there even if they're really good. They couldn't do anything until they make the NHL to up the competition, but now they can go from the CHL to the NCAA.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool thing for, I think, for a lot of these Canadian players. Even though I don't know if he's Canadian. Yeah, he is. Okay. So yeah, that's actually really cool that they can do that now. I didn't even know that was a thing.
If
I
you
didn't
want,
even realize that wasn't allowed.
yeah, it was not allowed. That's why you have players who kind of like, it's almost like they stall out at that CHL level and they excel at it. Like they're really good, but then when they transition to the NHL, unless you're a top player, you struggle with that transition from junior
Mhm.
hockey to professional hockey. So NCAA is kind of in the middle. It's definitely not the NHL level, obviously, but it's a step above what the juniors are because you're playing mostly guys who are in their early 20s. So these are more mature
Yeah, and
players.
you can play for multiple years because you're in a college, so you can play like up to 4 or 6 years probably.
I think 5 is the most I've normally seen. I don't know if they let you do
Hmm.
6. Maybe they do.
I know some. I think
Okay,
some.
but yeah, four is obviously the normal
Yeah.
amount. But another player, the biggest player that has been potentially been talking about it is Gavin McKenna, who is the clear number one for the 2026 draft. He has been hinting at committing to an NCAA team, and he just had a crazy year with the Medicine Hat Tigers. And
Hmm.
if this was the previous years, going into his draft year, he would just, I mean, next year, if he stays in the CHL, or I think he's in the WHL, but he's the CHL, the juniors, he's gonna
Yeah.
he's gonna go off like crazy again. But how much do NHL teams learn by that? Not much. But if he moves from there to playing in the NCAA with some tougher competition, it'll really prove and really show that he's worth the number one overall pick. So it'd be really exciting to see Gavin McKenna go to the NCAA. I hope it happens, but it hasn't yet.
Yeah. Because I think you have the ability to watch NCAA games versus um WHL or any CHL game.
Other than illegal streaming, like
Yeah, other than illegal streaming, but I don't mention that.
to do it ethically.
To do it to do it ethically.
Yes. Um, but it'll be really exciting for, like you said, all these Canadian junior players. They have a chance to play stronger competition now, which before they couldn't until they switched to either the AHL or straight to the NHL. It's going to be the one thing that people talk about is this is going to hurt the CHL teams if you like look at it from a reverse perspective. Like if all their top players start like switching out
Start going to the NCAA.
right when they turn 18, like the CHL competition is gonna like go down, like it's gonna be much weaker. And I say, who cares? I don't care about the CHL leagues. You guys can be the little junior 16,
Dude,
17-year-old league.
when you think about it, their whole business is kind of suspicious anyway.
Yeah.
I am I'm not gonna say anything, but their whole under the table type business thing is very suspicious. So I think they need something.
to hurt
I'm glad
them.
I'm glad the players will have a chance to at least like go to college instead of just be with a hockey team 24/7 and I don't know.
You're right. It is probably a much better. I don't know what it's like. I have no idea, obviously,
No idea.
but getting to live on campus and do all that and not, yeah, you're not 24/7 hockey, right? It's still going to be a big part of their lives and everything, but probably
Yeah,
a lot
I have
different.
no idea how it works. That would be it'd be a cool deep dive if somebody could do it. Like I know some players like do like day in a life of a this type of player. Like I remember there's like a goalie for Milwaukee that we had and I
Okay.
watched his YouTube stuff. a little bit when he signed with us. So I was like, ooh, that's cool. I saw that. I know who that is. And just seeing like his day to day.
Yeah, and I think they did change the rule in the NCAA with football players that they can get paid and they can get sponsorships, and who knows how weird that is. But I'm sure that extends
Dude,
to all NCAA athletes. So if they were getting
it's
paid in the CHL, I'm sure they still would be able to make the same amount of money in the NCAA, which is still
dude,
weird.
I learned some info from a coworker about how like college players get treated on campus because there's like this 18-year-old who walked into a bar and they were just like, yeah, you have to let him in because he's a big football guy. And I'm like, jeez, that's weird.
I'm so FAU obviously not a giant football school or anything. They're trying to be, but they're not.
Yeah. This was Clemson, what my coworker was
Oh,
talking about.
much bigger deal
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But because like I had a class and there were two of the football players on it, and they didn't get any special treatment, and it wasn't like everyone was all around. It was kind of like they were just two other guys in the class who were taller than everyone else, and that was about it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, this was the guy that my coworker was talking about. This guy was like a first round pick in the NFL draft,
oh, okay.
like that type of big deal, and like how they're like treated on campus is like crazy. Like he had bodyguards.
Now with
It's just
hockey players, look, I know we
hockey
love.
players. It's not gonna be
I know
like that.
we love hockey, and hockey is our favorite sport. But
Football
they're
is a different
they're
field.
they are not hockey players are not going to be treated like that. You probably
No.
would tell a guy like if Gavin McKenna goes to who's really good Boston University, and you just
Mhm.
ask general people like, hey, what do you guys think about Gavin McKenna coming to play here for Boston University? They'd be like, who? What? I don't know.
Or like a big college hockey and football like Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. Yeah, they really wouldn't
Hmm.
know.
They wouldn't know who that is.
Is he our new quarterback?
No.
Um,
I guess we're ready for some Olympic talk.
yes, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I don't know if the math is correct, but I'm going to say 1/4 of the Olympic rosters were
Six
released today.
players.
6 players. Yeah, just be accurate.
Yeah.
6 players for each roster for the Olympic nations were released today, which is kind of cool. They did the same thing for the 4 nations. You kind of can already the people who make the branding and all that. They kind of already have these are the guys we're going to build our brand around. And no surprising names here. Maybe a few left off, but but the people who left off are going to make the team. Um,
Mhm.
Italy automatically gets a spot in the Olympics because they will be the host nation. It'll be in Milano, Italy, and there's not going to be any names that you know or anyone really knows on this team. Here's them: Diego Costner, Daniel Mantunudo,
Ooh.
Tommy Perdeller,
Whoa.
Luco Zanata, Thomas
Okay.
Larkin,
Hey.
not related to Dylan,
Oh.
and then Damian Clara, who surprisingly plays in the AHL with the San Diego Gulls.
I recognize that name a
Yes,
little bit.
so he'll be their starting goaltender. I think Italy is gonna be a tough watch. They'll be if they win any game, it'll be historic. So,
Yeah, it'll be like if they what was it? I remember a while ago Latvia like put up a really good game against Canada.
yeah, that wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
Kristers Gudlevskis, I think was the goalie who like had like so many saves in that game.
Yeah, and we can move on to Latvia, which this is kind of surprising. Latvia has all. I'm having trouble talking tonight. Sorry about that. Latvia has all NHL players, or at least guys on NHL contracts,
Hmm.
and that is Rodrigo Abols, who's with Philly, Zemgus Girgensons, everyone knows him.
Hmm.
At least you should. Teddy
All star.
Bluger, all star. Teddy Bluger, who's with the Canucks. Uvis Balinskis, who's with the Panthers. He's been mostly a healthy scratch for the playoffs, but still on the roster. Elvis Merzlikins, the drama queen in Columbus, and then Artur Silovs, who was on the verge of becoming the starting goaltender for the Canucks when Demko went down. So,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
but pretty cool that Latvia, this small little country, all NHLers. So,
Yeah.
now their full roster won't be all NHLers, but they at least got to announce 6 guys who all are in the NHL or
Yeah.
have an NHL contract.
I think, of course, the big name there is Zemus Girgensons. When I always think of Latvia, that All-Star game where a bunch of Latvians voted for him, it was awesome.
Valinskis, I remember, got a lot of love similarly, but not as much as
Mm-hmm.
Zemus Girgensons.
Yeah. It's because of how he has his helmet. Like, he has full forehead showing.
We'll keep going through the lesser, like not the top tier countries. We'll save that for last. So France, mostly, there's only 2 names that you'll probably recognize on this one. The ones that you aren't is Jordan Perret, Jules Bosque, Hugo Galette, and Johan Avitu. No idea. But 2 guys you will know is Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, who is still playing hockey, not in the NHL, but over at HC Ajoye. I don't know. And then and Alexandre Texier with the St. Louis Blues.
That's right.
So he'll be the sole NHLer for the team France. And France is probably the team that doesn't make this tournament if Russia was allowed to play. They probably will have the weakest roster other than Italy. Like I said, Italy automatically gets to make it because of the host country.
Yeah.
So France is the one who kind of lucks out that Russia doesn't get to play.
You know what? It'll be. They don't have a goalie yet, so I wonder who their goalie will be. I'm always interested by goalies from all the countries.
One goal you will know from another country that is definitely gonna be an underdog this series is Denmark. Their goaltender will be Fredrik Andersen, who I often forget is from Denmark.
Yeah.
I would think he's like Finnish, but he's not. And then you got Oliver Bjorkstrand, Jonas Rodenberg, Lars Eller, Nikolaj Ehlers, who I believe is the all-time leading NHL scorer from Denmark.
That's awesome.
And then one guy who's not in the NHL, Jesper Jensen Abo.
That is an awesome name. Abo.
Jesper Jensen Abo. That's a fun one. And then who do we want to do next? How about Germany? They'll definitely still be a little bit of an underdog here, but still a lot of strong players. Obviously, Leon Draisaitl. Lucas Reichel. Tim Stutzel. Moritz Seider. Their goaltender, Philip Grubauer. And then Panthers, sometimes fourth liner, sometimes healthy scratch, Nico Sturm. And his non-brother, but with the same last name, Marco Sturm, will probably be the head coach for this team.
That's awesome. I think their weakest link is Grubauer. He kind of stinks.
Yeah, he's still a stronger goaltender than probably these other guys from these other nations. Let's do Slovakia. A couple names you'll know here. Martin Pospisil, who's had a good few years here very early. Thomas
Washington guy. Right?
Well, he's on Calgary now.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Maybe he was originally drafted by Washington.
There's like a guy in Washington who had like a random good year. Who am I thinking of?
Martin Fairharvey?
Capitals roster.
That's their goaltender.
Who am I thinking of?
Alexei Protas?
That's who I'm thinking of.
I'm not sure where he's from.
Belarus.
Oh, Belarus didn't make the tournament, but he definitely would be. He'd definitely be on the team if he.
He would be the top guy, like 30 goals, 36 points. He had like a random crazy year.
But who is with the Capitals on Slovakia is Martin Fairharvey. I can't. I'm not sure that's how you say his name. He's got a hard name. Also on the team, Juraj Slavkovsky, Simon Nemec, the 2 guys who were top picks in their draft. Then you got Thomas Tatar, who's no longer an NHLer, but everyone knows Thomas Tatar. And then Eric Chiernak that rounds up their first 6. Then Switzerland gets some love to the Predators
Yeah.
here with Roman Josi. And then they also have Kevin Fiala, Nico Hischier, Timo Meyer, Nino Niederreiter, and
You don't need a Raider.
Jonas Siegenthaler.
3 former, or 1 current Pred, and then 2 former.
Yes. That's Kevin Fiala and Nino Niederreiter, right?
Yes.
Nino was a very brief Predator. I thought he was gonna. That seemed like the perfect team for Nino, but
And we got a 2nd-round pick for him, though. Oh, yeah.
let's move on to Czechia. This is the team that David Pastrnak said should have gotten a shot at the Four Nations. Wasn't happening. But here's their top 6. Obviously, David Pastrnak, who's going to be their best player. Pavel Zacha, Martin Necas, Andre Palat, Radko Gudas, and Lucas Dostal, who is from Czechia. I, for some reason, thought he was Canadian. Clearly not. Are we ready for the big boys, I think?
I think we're ready now.
Here's the Four Nations team. So starting with Finland, you've got, of course, he's going to be the captain, Alexander Barkov, Sebastian Aho, then a bunch of stars, Mikko Rantanen, Miro Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, and then in goaltender from your Nashville Predators, UC Saros.
Even though Finland has... Who's the other goalie that we got? That they
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Is it Ukko-Pekka? I thought there was another good Finnish
I think
goalie.
there is another one, but that's the first one that comes
What
to
am I thinking
mind.
of? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of Russia because they have Bobrovsky, Sorokin, and Samsonov. Like, it's crazy like how many elite Russian goalies there are.
I don't think there's anyone who's better than Saros, Nola.
I think Saros is
there's
the starter.
Lankinen, Capo Kakinen, Ville Husso, Korpisalo.
I'll tell you what, I miss Lankinen as our backup.
Kevin Lankinen, yeah. And they're both
so
the
good.
Finnish stars.
Yeah.
Then moving over to Sweden, they definitely have a strong roster. There's one interesting pick here, and I'll save it for last. But they've got William Nylander,
Guess.
Adrian. Okay, who's your guess? Who I think is the?
I'll let you read them off, and then I'll guess.
Okay, Lucas Raymond, William Nylander, Adrian Kempe, Rasmus Dahlin, Victor Hedman, and Gabriel Landeskog. So who did you think?
Gabriel Landeskog?
Yeah, I think that's a weird pick. I think it's a weird pick. He just came. The story is awesome. I get it, but is he one of the top 6 Swedish players in the world right now? No.
Yes.
No. But I think he was going to make the team regardless. Clearly going to be a leader for that team.
I think it's cool just to announce him for Swede fans.
That probably was the whole point. Yeah.
Because he's captain Sweden. Wasn't he like the first Swedish captain?
There's definitely not been a ton, so I don't know if he's the first, but maybe definitely the first one in Avalanche history. But
probably.
Because, yeah. I mean, they had Peter Forsberg, but he was never captain. It was obviously Joe Sakic. So, yeah. And then we have the big boys from North America. For the United States, you have the Bash brothers, Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, then 2 defensemen, Charlie McAvoy and Quinn Hughes. And it'll be big for the United States if Quinn Hughes can actually play this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think USA probably wins if they have Quinn Hughes. That was kind of their mates, and probably a healthy Matthew Tkachuk.
Oh, yeah. Why am I struggling to find USA's roster on this? Because I know you said all the names, but I don't see them.
I don't think I sent them.
it.
I didn't send it. I'm sorry. Here it comes.
No.
Here it comes for you.
There we go. Okay. That is a good-looking team. I think we can win.
I hope Tage Thompson makes the team because he didn't make it at Four Nations and he should have. And I like Tage Thompson.
Yeah.
And then no surprises for Canada, to be honest. Maybe one, but I don't know. He's still really good.
Braden Point.
Braden Point. I like Braden Point, but
he's cool.
But you've got obviously Connor McDavid, obviously Nathan McKinnon,
Crosby,
obviously Sidney Crosby, obviously Cale Makar,
and then
your
2 other ones are Reinhardt and Point.
Yeah, Reinhardt obviously been a rising star. He had that 57 goal season. A little bit of a down year this past year,
Wait a
but
minute. Hellebuck is Canadian, right?
Hellebuck is American.
He's Why wasn't he picked as the top American?
He
He just won a heart and stuff.
disrespect. It's probably because it's so obvious he'll be there. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. That's weird.
I thought maybe him instead of. I think it's because
McAvoy?
I was gonna say McAvoy, but honestly, Brady Kachuk is probably the lowest player. But they had to announce Matthew and Brady together, right?
I mean, that's what you gotta do.
Yeah, no. Connor Hellebuck will obviously be on Team USA, regardless of his playoff struggles. He's the best
Hopefully, he
American
can be
goaltender.
Olympic better. And
That
then we have Jake Ottinger too,
Jake Ottinger and Jeremy Swayman from
and
Alaska. So
the Alaskan native.
I'm excited for the Olympics, even though Matthew Kachuk did get injured in the Four Nations, and that sucked as a Panthers fan. But I don't think it took away too much from the tournament itself. It clearly was epic. It was one of the biggest things that happened this past season. It got the whole nation to watch. People who've never watched hockey before watched the finals of that game. Obviously, it was kind of politically charged because of all the stupid Trump annexing Canada crap. But it still was really epic regardless. I mean, you had literally fights happening on between nations. I mean, that's never happened before. Well, it has. Sorry, it has happened before, but not in a long time.
Yeah. So, all right, predictions. Who's gonna win?
I'm gonna pick. I'm just gonna pick bias. USA for sure. Finland won the gold last time, which is crazy. Not with the NHL players.
I think I'm gonna go with Italy.
The biggest Cinderella run of all time.
Italy has a chance.
Only there by default because I think Belarus might have made it if it wasn't for that rule that the host nation gets to have their hockey team play.
Yeah, it's interesting, but you know what? Hopefully I'll watch a game or two, or at least watch the highlights.
It's gonna be it's in Italy, so the time
zones are weird.
Gonna be weird. You'll be lucky. They'll probably do something where those games will either be crazy early in the morning or like I'm talking like 6 a.m. like something like that. Or they might be like at 10 o'clock p.m. I have no idea. Let's see. Okay, so let's see what time it is in Milano, Italy right now.
Right now.
Time. It is 5:13 a.m. right now. So
okay, so that's a 6-hour difference.
So if they did 8 o'clock their time, that'd be like we'd be like at work during that, basically.
Yeah, I would be at work. So it'll be inconvenient for me.
Watch it at work. No shame in admitting this, but when the World Cup was going on, we 100% had the World Cup going on at church.
That's funny.
In the middle of the day.
I mean, luckily with my job, I can just have something on at my desk while I'm doing my work. So as long as I'm not just looking at it the whole time, I'm good.
You're working and watching. That's right. That's the key.
Yeah, that's the key. That's why I usually just put like a silly TV show on.
But I overall like the hype that they're making for the Olympics. I was kind of surprised they were announcing the 6 starters for each. I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. So that's cool that they're trying to hype it up just as much as the Four Nations. And there's a couple of Panthers fans who made comments on my post about it. They're like, I hate it. I don't want anyone to get injured. Have some fun. Come on. Let's go.
Weenie Hut General.
And one thing also is the Four Nations was hosted by the NHL with NHL officials who are going to call the game like an NHL game. This is hosted by the IIHF, who that's a much tighter called thing. There's not going to be fights. They're not going to be letting guys hit as intensely or anything. So
I'm just glad that the stars are going to be in the Olympics. It makes the Olympics a lot better.
Right.
Because before it was nothing.
Like I said, Finland won that last gold, but it wasn't like Barkov and Heiskanen were on that team. It was all guys
Yeah.
just playing in Europe
It
and
was
stuff
it
like
was
that.
the Sim Liga.
Yeah. Or I don't know if they let any pro leagues play, so I don't even know. I don't know exactly what the rule
I
was
don't know.
because because if it wasn't you couldn't let pros, then that would mean the Sim Liga is even the out. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Like I don't know if they
But
let
yeah,
KHL players play or anything like that. Doesn't matter. NHL players, whoever's the best, they're playing for their nation next year. The 2026 limits in February. What's the question you want to close us out on?
oh dear. Oh dear, I have to come up with something on the spot. Let's think. Alrighty, here we go. I don't know why this is the question that's popping up, but I said I have a better question now that I've
Okay.
figured out. Okay, because last time I did the last movie you watched and thing. How about the last video game you've played and completed? You would say
Would a replay count? Yeah,
yes.
then God of War Ragnarok is the last game I played and
There we
completed.
go.
Um, one of my favorite games to play, and I think I've replayed it 2 times now. It's a pretty long game, but yeah, I've replayed it 2 times. It's pretty epic. They don't necessarily stay 100% true to all the Nordic lore, but I don't really care about that. It's like fun that I kind
It's
of
its own thing.
I'm somewhat familiar with the Nordic lore and the myths there, so it is kind of cool to see
Mhm.
them incorporate it. And spoiler alert, it kind of sucks that Thor dies in it, but I thought they're gonna try to keep him around. Uh, it
Poor
shouldn't be a
Thor.
spoiler alert. That game's like a several years old at this point. So, but
All right.
good
So
game,
I
good
know, I
storyline.
know.
Yeah.
All right. So I know I'm a I'm a bit of an anime fan. So this game is called Me Side,
Everyone's favorite
where
game, really.
your character, yeah, it was popular on Twitch for a bit when it first came out. You basically are this guy. Yeah, there's a phone app with with like you basically have a phone girlfriend basically, and you're just you're just playing it, and then she says, "Do you want to join me in the game?" And then you get sucked into the phone world, and then it gets like all psychological horror ish, and it's really fun. It's like a good 6 hour game, like cool little psychological horror. Had a bunch of like little interesting game mechanics of
Okay.
like how the game mechanics switch from one type of gameplay to a different one, and it's really cool because I think you remember me playing Doki Doki Literature Club. It reminds me of that a while ago. If you
That
remember
one's
that,
barely a game. It's just you just watch
it's just
text.
it's reading. So this one was an
Yeah.
actual game. You're actually like
Okay.
playing a character.
Then I respect it.
Yeah. So it's
I can't respect the Doki game because it's not a game.
wow.
It's
Okay.
not a
It's a
game.
good. It's a psychological horror visual novel.
That's I'm fine if you want to call it that because it is not a game.
Yeah. But yeah, that game I played recently, and I it's definitely the most fun I've had with a game recently.
I thought you were about when you said something on the phone. I thought it was going to be similar to those games that we played that are like the one where you're kind of like that Russian like guy who has the you are monitoring people who come through to see if they like contraband or their visas
Oh,
line
that
up.
game.
Um,
Yeah, I love that game.
do you
That's
remember what it's called?
let me look it up. I have it on my Steam.
It's like
Papers, Please.
Papers, Please. Yeah.
Yes, you basically are a guy sitting at a thing, and you have to look at all this dude's information. Oh, hold up, my Discord just.
Don't worry, we'll get him back.
Okay, okay. So you're sitting there, and you have to check all their papers, make sure they're not lying or forged their
Right.
documents. So it's a fun little brain shut off your brain and just focus in on that game.
Yeah.
I haven't played it in a while.
There's a similar game like that where you're a bouncer and you have to check people's IDs and stuff.
I remember you telling me
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
that's a fun game too, but uh, definitely not. I don't think it's similar to God of War Ragnarok or the game that I definitely can't pronounce because I already forgot it that you were mentioning.
Me side.
Me side. Okay.
Mi side. Hi, doggy.
And Freya says, next time we talk, the Panthers will be back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. She said that, not me, so I don't.
She said it. Okay. So, did you see that video of like the ball falling down the stairs predicting the
Man,
cup?
that corgi is the dumbest corgi I've ever seen on the internet. It projected the Leafs to win, so I don't want to hear it.
All right. I thought it was cute. Alrighty.
Well, yep. We'll see you next time. My name is Brett.
I'm Nolan.
This is Freya, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.